Welcome, my children, to Winter 2020, and let me regale you with a story created by a bored college student for no other reason than the making of it itself. So gather round and let me tell you the story of an elf named Buggle as he tries to find the spirit of winter. 'Twas a time before Christmas, in a land of magic, where time was not linear and the circumstance was tragic. For magic was seeping out of the earth, and the humans were losing their mystery and mirth. It was for this one elf looked up in surprise when he saw a young child in front of his eyes. "Hello, Mr. Elf. Are you a detective? I come with a job which is quite selective." "I'm an elf PI, my dear lost child. But my word, I haven't seen humans here in a while. Now out with it, child. What is my task?" He gave a command that was technically an ask. "I've seen the hearts on earth have started to splinter, so I ask of you, please, find the spirit of winter." The elf PI couldn't hide his surprise, for the child's request was gracious and wise. But even in the land of folklore and the mystic, the spirit's location had yet to stick. His path would be difficult and consuming of time, nearly impossible to complete in rhyme. Luckily, the start of the journey wouldn't be a random toss, because the elf would begin with Santa Claus. With his headway in mind and his goal held dear, the magical land made the elf's road clear. In a market square, somewhat like the North Pole, the elf made a soapbox out of a knoll. "I seek the one known as Santa Claus." "Santa Claus? No, Santa Claus. Kris Kringle or St. Nicholas." The elf spoke to one, but to his dismay, 4 different men answered, with a greeting of hay. "I am St. Nicholas, and I don't mean to be untoward," the first man began as he stepped forward. "I may have once become famous for giving, but alas, my friend, I am no longer living." "I do need a man with a beard and wrinkles. Perchance is one of you known as Kris Kringle?" "Sometimes I am, but Christ-kind am I. I bear no beard, yet have wings to fly. These other 2 men have beards, you can tell, but they are called Father Christmas and Père Noël." The angel's voice rang gentle and soft. "Have you never heard of Santa and his reindeer Rudolph?" the elf asked in surprise. "That reindeer was made in folklore's guise. Jule Tompton the elf delivers gifts for the holiday, but goats, not reindeer, carry his sleigh. Rudolph's origin is a marketing ad, and the Santa you seek is a marketing fad. Since Santa can't help you complete your task, I am one whom you may ask." The martyr Saint Lucia began her piece, and enlightened the elf with a truthful reprise. "You sought a quick answer, only to your frustration. To find your next clue, seek the sounds of celebration." The elf thanked the saints with some words and a bow. "In my haste, I forgot to introduce myself, which I'll rectify now. My name is Investigator Buggle, you see, and I'm determined to solve this mystery." Buggle traveled low and he traveled high, until he beheld celebrations in sight. There were people in furs and families under covers, with children in robes and dress of all colors. The lone elf approached a small family, all crouched around a burning felled tree. "Hello, my dear people. Have you heard hint or whisper of the missing spirit of seasonal winter?" "Oh, my dear man, my dear elf, join the Yule feast and help yourself. While the Yule log burns in this home, guests feast and be merry instead of alone." The jolly group urged him to stay, but Buggle had to continue on his way. He passed men wrapped in togas and girls wreathed in candles, as well as some vases with protruding handles. "Can anyone answer my questions tonight?" asked Buggle to all of the passers-by. "We are busy with singing and bells that ring. You should speak to the one who we've crowned king." The elf searched for a king and was at a loss, until he saw one in laurels, causing chaos. "Are you king of this land?" "Aye, king for a day. I rule over Rome and I rule over man. All year I am a servant who cleans the temple steps, but today I am crowned Saturnalia Princeps." "Well, my dear man, or king for a day, have you heard of the spirit of winter? Do you know where it stays?" "My ears are full of music, and my spirits are in drink. With all of this merriment, there is no time to think. We celebrate Saturn with a mighty sound, because our dear Titan is trapped underground. 'Tis not the time to be stuck with your goal. Enjoy yourself, and eat this cake that I stole." The king leapt away with a boisterous call, even though he had not helped the elf out at all. Buggle's frustration began to simmer, but he followed the sounds of another group's whisper. "Ho! I hail you whispering there. Why do you not join the celebration fair? I do not mean to bother or make you yelp, so please answer my questions if you are willing to help."
"We are servants of Mithra, who is born from stone. We keep our secrets, so leave us alone. If you search all of us, you'll find not one snitch, so you'd have more luck seeking counsel from a witch."
The elf could have responded with justified fury, but instead he took the advice literally. Buggle trekked away from the celebrant's glen, and now headed for a witch's den. "It would give me much peace of mind if I could somehow find a witch who was kind." As Buggle mused, he watched some snow morph. Which seemed to be snow was actually a dwarf. "Hello, my friends. I didn't see you from the ditches."
"I wouldn't call one a friend who seeks the company of witches. We are known as Berbagazi in these hills, and we would ask you to leave if you will."
"I cannot do that. I must apologize." The dwarves responded with anger in their eyes. The elf turned and began to flee, but they pursued on feet that resembled skis.
"Surrender now, and we may treat you well."
"Begone, you dwarves, before I weave a spell. I am the witch La Befana, and I do not jest. That elf you hold captive is my honored guest." The dwarves begrudgingly let the elf free, while the witch offered Buggle a cup of warm tea. "Tell me, dear elf, what brings you to me?" the witch asked Buggle nicely while he sipped tea. Buggle started again while another witch entered. "I seek to find knowledge of the spirit of winter." "I am known as Babushka, and I often spread kindness, so I do not wish to leave you directionless. I strongly urge that you seek out joy, instead of knowledge with the power to destroy. However, if in your quest you refuse to be pliant, then seek answers from Gryla, the ice witch giant." "I know your advice is given to help, but I do this task for a child, and not for myself." La Befana carried Buggle on her flying broom, and the elf became worried at what could be his doom. He was dropped off in front of a mountaintop cave, as Gryla inside began to rave.
"What goes there? Are you a dwarf or a rat? Show yourself, or I'll feed you to my Yule cat."
Buggle showed himself with his hands held high, still fearing the possibility that he might die.
"Lepaludi, take care of that pest."
"I'm too tired. I'd much rather rest."
Gryla screeched angrily at her lazy husband, for she herself could not leave her bubbling cauldron. "I do not mean to bother, but I wish you would consider answering my questions about the spirit of winter."
"Bah, I have no time for your prattle and din. If you must speak, then do so to my children. Come, my Yule lads, door slammer, window peeper, come all 13 to deal with this creeper."
The Yule lads came running with all sorts of noise, and treated the elf as they would their toys.
"Oh, pick me, I will answer your question."
I would not listen to Sausage Swiper's suggestion. "Yeah, he only tells half the truth."
"I swear I'll be good this time, forsooth. I'll be as sweet as a chocolate fountain,
and for you, my elf friend, seek the king in the mountain." Buggle did not fully trust Swiper at his face, but he was more than eager to leave that place. Buggle searched in mountain after mountain, but a king he didn't find. By now he feared the answer would leave him behind. The elf became upset like a diva until he was struck by an idea. Perhaps the king was not on a mound, but was instead the titan Saturn, trapped underground. Buggle hurried while there was still magic of solstice, the one time of year Saturn rose from Tartarus. He braved the empty halls of the underground, which stretched eerily on without a sound. The massive titan sat upon an old throne, whose size made the elf feel even more alone.
"Has Zeus finally descended to torment me with hellhounds? I would strike you all down were it not for my bounds."
"No, dear Saturn, I am not one to mind." Buggle was slightly relieved to discover he was blind.
"Then why are you here?"
I bring nothing to fear. I simply ask, is the spirit of winter here?"
"I remember only the struggle of toil, for I have been here since time immemorial. Yet the one thing I hold in memory is a stone that is precious to me."
The elf saw the stone, which was gray and normal. He had suspected a magic one would be more formal. Buggle was loath to steal from the Titan, but he had no other leads for his assignment. The elf stole the stone, then started to run.
You dare steal from me? What have you done? Beware, you foul thief, for my bonds start to thin, and even if I stay, you will not escape punishment. I sinned after you, Krampus, Belsnickel, and connect Ruprecht. Only with your flesh will you pay your debts.
The elf doubted his chances with no ally, but having come this far, he had to try. He rushed to a safe haven of rest, but he first had to survive the dark of the forest.
The elf thinks himself safe while he dashes. What a surprise when I blind him with ashes.
Knecht Ruprecht left with his staff and hood, proving the elf was not safe in the wood. Buggle moved his arms to barely block the speeding staff with the stolen rock. The power of the blow launched him into a ditch, and at the mercy of Belsnickel's switch. The switch nicked his arm, and he cried out in pain, with barely enough mind to roll away. Buggle's body was not in great shape, yet he mustered the strength necessary to escape. However, the goat legs of Krampus blocked his way, who was by far the scariest of the Fae.
You have sinned, little elf. You receive retribution. Punishment comes after stone's restitution.
Krampus snarled at Buggle while he growled his verse. Buggle could not imagine anything worse. Yet at the last moment, Buggle cried Eureka, because he figured that the stone was Mithra.
I need the help of the one born from stone.
After speaking, the elf found he was safe and alone. The stone cracked like an egg, and light began to leak out. Then Mithra appeared and stretched his arms about. You seem to have gotten into quite the pickle. Why did you anger the Titan with a sickle?
I did it for my quest, to find the winter spirit. Would you happen to know where I could find it?
I am known as the keeper of contracts and truth, and even if not, lying would be uncouth. I know the knowledge you desperately seek, but if I tell you, then I must leave you be. I can do this, or I can spare your abuse. So knowledge or safety, what do you choose? The elf thought for a second, then made up his head.
Knowledge will be no good if I find myself dead. Please send me back to where I belong. Make sure you right what I have wronged.
Mithra nodded and snapped with a burst of light, and Buggle's thievery had been made right. The elf teleported back into his home, having escaped from an early catacomb. Buggle slowly calmed from being riled, and was yet again approached by the wondering child.
Did you find the answer to what I asked? Unfortunately, I did not complete my task, but I did learn something you may want to hear, that my searching and wondering had robbed me of cheer. Even without every secret in mind, perhaps still something wonderful you'll be able to find.
Buggle at last fell asleep, for his energy was spent, and the child walked away, feeling content. The end.